So much to get into today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzetta Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. We got crazy dealer time today. We're 6:50 in the morning today. My apologies. Probably still here a little bit. I don't the allergies. I don't know what it is. I don't know why this time of year. I just have these fits. I don't know if my face not that red anymore. Good. Anyway, welcome in. Phillies win. Flyers lose their last game of the season at home. They go on the road now, but for one game, but they shut out. Not exactly the way you wanted things to end. And Howie Roseman addressed the media yesterday with Nick Sirianni. I always feel bad for Nick. Nick actually got a couple of questions yesterday during the near half-hour press conference, but like, hey, what are you looking for in a player, in the draft? Yeah. But Howie Roseman talked about strategy. He talked about the quote that was out there that I know it picked up headlines. Howie Roseman had a quote that picked up headlines when it came to, I'm not going to draft a player that has domestic violence in the background, all that. And Howie even yesterday said, I love how I go on a podcast and you did one little thing on a podcast. That's what he said. One little thing on a podcast just goes viral or whatever. There's a lot of context that goes into it, I'm sure. He seemed to not like that was attached to him. But when I saw that, my first thought was, I would venture to guess this is a case-by-case basis. I mean, it's noble, and I love that, but I would think it's a case-by-case basis. Hearsay, like who was it? Comedian Andrew Schultz was on with Ryan Clark recently. At least I saw this recently. Maybe it was just my algorithm. But he was like, you've had guys on here that have been convicted of domestic violence, like not allegations, but convicted. And it's never come up on the podcast. And Michael said, well, we did talk about it, but we had to edit it out later for whatever reason. Bottom line is they had him on the podcast. So when that quote came out from Howie Roseman, I just thought, this is a case-by-case thing. It's not just anyone that has just been alleged. They're going to really look into it. And as Howie even pointed out yesterday, he shouted out Big Dom and really getting to the bottom in a lot of things, not just things that have been maybe criminal, but things that are just, how does this player tick? And does he have anything in his background that we should really know about? And how he shouted out the quote-unquote best in the business, Big Dom, in figuring all that out. So he got in a lot of stuff yesterday. Strategy, also a flex, picking after Super Bowls. What's that like? And how he preached patience when it came to picking at 32. It is difficult to get anything out of a general manager, if they're smart. It's difficult to get anything out of a general manager in a press conference like this a little bit more than a week removed from the draft. Okay? Because they're not going to get into strategy specifically. They're not going to get into the weeds. Well, we really want a defensive end here because, they're not going to do that. But I felt like yesterday you got a good amount out of Howie Roseman and a little bit out of Nick Sirianni. Obviously, in his role, he has a little bit less to offer than the guy that's making the decisions on roster and all that stuff. I do believe it is collaborative, more so than people are willing to give it credit for. Like, do I think Howie Roseman's the guy making the call? Absolutely. But I do think everyone is kind of working to support him in making that right pick. But ultimately, it comes down to what he's looking for. Liked what he had to say. I still liked what he had to say about anyone that could have some off-the-field issues. I do like what he had to say about picking at 32. I did like what he had to say about stats versus scheme. For instance, a lot of people can look at numbers in college and go, oh, this guy had 40 touchdown passes, whatever. How that won't translate to the NFL, or how a guy had 15 sacks in college, whatever, and how it doesn't translate to the NFL. How they delve into what a player is being asked to do. Howie talked yesterday about how important that is, to not just look at stats, but also look at schemes, look at a player's quote-unquote job description, how he got into that yesterday, and just really his view of the upcoming NFL draft. And I thought it was very interesting also that for a guy that is picking at 32, he admitted yesterday he never has 32 first round grades in his draft board. So with the amount of picks they have this year, with the amount of picks they have next year, I look at this draft and I say, I really don't have a feel for the direction that the Eagles are going to go. I will say, as far as target, if they have it their way, if things play out the way they're assuming they'll play out right now, not that that's 100% the direction they're going, but I do think that their desire is to get a defensive lineman. I think I've narrowed it down to those two things. I've narrowed it down to a defensive tackle or a defensive end. For me, the wish I am fishing is for a defensive tackle to come in here and be the replacement to Milton Williams, because I don't see that guy on the roster right now. And I know that goes against general draft philosophy. And hey, look, if you have somebody else that's better on the board at a safety position, and the Justin Simmons thing isn't going to happen, then you go crazy. But that's the direction I see the Eagles going for defensive linemen. But when it comes to trading up or trading back, I would say that Howie Roseman right now is more likely to trade up than he is to trade back. With all the picks they have, that's the direction I see them going in the near future. One thing he said that kind of made me raise my eyebrows a little, go, oh, maybe it'll go the other way. Look, I'm like 51%. If I had to pick, the amount of times he referenced being aggressive is in his DNA, and being patient is not exactly a virtue he possesses. If I had to say he's going to trade up, but it's like 49% that he'll trade back. So it's kind of split. But when it comes to the amount of picks they also have, they only have the 2 first rounders right now, this year and next year. I wouldn't be shocked if they're going to be a good football team again next year. If they have a late pick again, he might want to trade back and get more second round picks out of this. I thought it was also interesting. I think it was was it Martin Frank? I forget who it was that asked the question about, you've acquired a lot of first round picks. You've acquired a lot of second round picks, meaning, a guy like Azeez Ojulari, for instance. You get a lot of guys like that. Hasn't worked out somewhere. Maybe it'll work out here. And Howie believed in a simple, because I know other people will take this maybe the wrong way, but in just a football sense, they very much believe in second chances. They very much believe in second chances when it comes to guys that maybe didn't work out so well in another area for another team, in another scheme, or maybe their health just wasn't there, and the other team said, all right, we can't keep doing this, and they move on. Well, I think the Eagles are a team that's willing to invest in that former first or second round pick and say, oh, it didn't work out there, but maybe it'll work out here. So we'll get to Howie Roseman's comments from yesterday. I'm using the word love. I loved the Phillies game yesterday. Loved it. Jesus Luzardo. Let me start on the negative, if you will. Jesus Luzardo, not great. Not terrible, but not great. 5 1/3, charged for 3 runs. 2 runs while he was in the game, 3 runs, 1 more scored when Orion Kerkering came in. That was charged to Jesus Luzardo. Not great, but certainly not terrible. Bullpen, pretty damn good. Jose Alvarado got robbed of a called strike 3 on Lee, and that ended up leading to a 3-hit, 1-run inning on Jose Alvarado. But that was the only blemish on the bullpen. When you talk about using guys like Kerkering, that was a little wild pitch there, not great. Jordan Romano, Jose Alvarado, Matt Strahm. They did the job yesterday. I'd like to see Alvarado not get 30 pitches, but good God, man, that was a horrible, horrible blown call. Second blown call in this series that went against the Phillies. But overall yesterday, seeing Jesus Luzardo struggle, the bullpen come in and take care of business. Then seeing Brandon Marsh come up with an RBI sac fly. Hey, anything, good for you. Confused that Rob Thompson was like, I'm going to give him a couple days off. And then all of a sudden, wouldn't even pinch hit him. And now he's in the starting lineup. Okay, all right, whatever. Alec Bohm, RBI single. JT Realmuto, first home run of the season. Nick Castellanos still hitting. And Bryce Harper's 2-run home run that was the difference in the ballgame. I loved yesterday's game. And I loved Alec Bohm after the game. Now, I was tracking this with you guys throughout the slump. Alec Bohm has a little single there in St. Louis. Does he break out of the slump then? No, goes 0 for the next day. Still, hacking in first pitches. Then in this Giants series, first game of the series, I referenced yesterday, not just the double, but the fact that he was more patient at the plate. was a good thing. Got the double to the left center field gap. That was good. Put runners on second and third in game one. And then yesterday, steps up to the plate in the second inning with runners in scoring position. And he jumps on a first pitch fastball. Now, as I have told you guys throughout this entire slump, really even going back to last year, year before, swinging at the first pitch is not always a bad thing. For Alec Bohm, it's been a bad thing because he has not been on at all. And I don't mean like, oh, he's got to be red hot to swing at the first pitch. No, he's just been way off. He gets a first pitch fastball, middle of the plate, up in the zone, and he doesn't foul it away. He doesn't swing and miss. He barrels it to left center field for an RBI single. Barrels it. The timing was on for that one. So obviously, you love to see that. And then after the game, for a guy that is slamming bats, slamming helmets, throwing his hands in the air, dropping bats right when he swings through the zone on a strike three, on a fastball that he misses, for a guy that supposedly has the worst body language in the MLB, he puts the headset on and he's laughing at himself. There's 162 of these things. You're going to have a 1 for 24. All right. You're going to have, unfortunately, an 0 for 19. That's going to happen. I've maintained throughout the process. Yeah, I would have sat him. That would have happened yesterday. I would have sat him. I would have benched him. I would have let him clear his head. That's the direction I would have gone with it because he just looks so lost. Phillies opted to just swing your way through it. After last night, I got reason to believe that the real struggles of Alec Bohm are behind him. Now, it's going to be a tough lefty on the mound tonight. That should be a good matchup, though, for Alec Bohm. Keep your fingers crossed for that one. With Robbie Ray on the hill, who has started off the season rather well at 3-0. Actually, the opposite of Aaron Nola, who will be his foe tonight at 0-3. But listening to him after the game, just kind of be like, yeah, it's been well documented that I've had some struggles. That's like, oh, good for him. At least he's got a little bit of a sense of humor about it. So we'll get into Alec Bohm stuff from last night. We'll get into Bryce Harper stepping up last night. Hey, you know what? I'm kind of done with the gender reveals in Major League Baseball. And when Bryce Harper had the bat in his hands, the blue bat, saying that he has got he's going to have another baby boy, he and his wife. I was like, okay, I think I'm done with the gender reveals now. But then I found out how it all went down with Trey Turner giving him the blue bat. He's like, you're not going to do the pink bat. That's kind of cool. And Kayla was watching as well, and that's how she found out. And Bryce Harper was trying to keep the bat hidden, you know. Not how I would have done it by any means because, well, one, I'm not a Major League Baseball player. And two, I kind of I'd rather be with my wife at that moment. But it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool hearing how that all transpired behind the scenes. That was kind of interesting. But we'll get into all that. And how about this? Emmitt Smith doesn't want you to say go Birds. Sorry, Emmitt. Don't think you really got to say it, all of this. But yeah, we got a lot to get into on today's show. But welcome in. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. We're going to start off with Howie Roseman today. First thing we're going to get into is the overall strategy with picking at 32.
The way we go into looking in the draft is we always take worst case scenario and work back from that. And we got to be really comfortable with whatever is our worst case scenario, which will always entail getting a good player. There's never 32 first round grades on our board. We don't have 32 first round grades in this draft. So obviously it depends on how things go. You go through a lot of hypotheticals. You try to put yourself in any possible position so that you're ready to execute. Just even looking at last year, the guys that we thought were most realistic being available at 22. We feel like we got fortunate to get one of the guys that we didn't have in a lot of the scenarios. So, luck plays a part in it. Obviously, everyone's looking at things differently. Everyone has a different vision for what they're looking for their team. Everyone has a different vision for the particular players that they're looking at. And you just hope that, kind of makes sense for your football team.
I referenced earlier all the picks that the Eagles have in the upcoming drafts, this one and next year. First rounder this year at 32, second rounder at 64, third rounder at 96, fourth rounder at 134. Then they got 4 fifth-round picks. That's a nice bevy of picks there. Then next year, a first, a second. They got 3 thirds, 2 fours, 3 fives, and a 7. That's for next year's draft. That's a lot going on for the Eagles. But again, 1 first, 1 second in each of the next 2 drafts. The 3 third-round picks, I wouldn't be shocked at all. 4 if you include this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they get packaged in a deal for this year to move up. Because Howie, again, just likes to be aggressive. Here he is yesterday talking about patience after, and this was a flex, after winning the Super Bowl with Nick Foles and Doug Peterson, picking late and not having a lot of picks, and then losing the Super Bowl to the Chiefs and then picking late, but also getting Jalen Carter, not bad. And then this year, picking again after the Super Bowl, how he's learned from the previous situations and how it goes into his draft pick this year.
Yeah, I think that you have to be patient. One, you have to allow things to come to you. The chances that you're trading up into the top 10, top 15, top 20 are slim. That's hard to do. So you have to really kind of understand the strengths of the draft. You have to spend a lot of time being realistic about who do you think you have an opportunity to get, so you can spend a lot of time with them. I think that, when we look back at those 2 drafts when we were picking 32, and I think we were 30 that year because a pick was forfeited, there were 2 different examples, because in that 18 draft, we didn't have a lot of picks. We had given them up, so we had an opportunity at the end of the first round to move back. But I think we got very fortunate that the guys that we had a lot of passion for, especially on the 3rd day, were available, and we were able to target them and go get them. And we were fortunate that we had a couple of first-round picks when we came back in 2023, and we had good players at those positions too. So, it's not my best quality, patience, but I think in this situation, understanding the reality of where we are in the draft, what's going to be available to us potentially, and making sure we know those guys backwards and forwards.
Patience, did you hear it? Not really his thing. Not really what he does. It's going to be difficult for him. Last year was such a fascinating year in the draft, because what a lot of people anticipated didn't happen. Quenya Mitchell was not supposed to be here. The Eagles trading up to get Cooper DeJean wasn't supposed to happen. The Eagles, with a slew of bad picks at the cornerback position since the days of Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd, they nailed it. Howie Roseman absolutely nailed it. And you hear him acknowledge that luck has a lot to do with it, or plays a factor in it at least. Oh, they got lucky last year. But guess what? When luck presents you with an opportunity, feel free to be a little bit lucky. And also make your own luck in being prepared for that situation. And the Eagles certainly were last year, and getting at least 2 guys, well, definitely 2 guys in your first 2 picks that will have an impact on this defense for years to come. That's incredible. But when he talks about picking after a Super Bowl, how late you got to pick in the draft, yeah, if you're going to go out there and just assume that the draft board is going to fall one way, I mean, they have their own mock drafts. Don't get me wrong; they always say they prepare for every single scenario. And Howie Roseman's the guy that you believe when he says that. They got to be looking at this as just where's the first pick go? Where's the second pick go? Just the top 3 guys affect everything. It's all a domino effect. And if the Eagles are thinking they could get a guy that still has one of their first-round grades in the first round, then I would not be shocked at all if they move up. Though the other thing I mentioned from when I talked about Howie Roseman not having the patience for it, that's obviously a big reason why they might move up. They also have a lot of assets in the draft to potentially move up. They also have maybe Dallas Goedert they could use to move up in a trade. So there's a lot going on there. But the other thing is, I keep thinking about the fact that we are in a world right now that we're just not used to with the Eagles. Now, they're very wise with the cap. Very wise. However, we're used to seeing this bag of money called the cap, okay? And we're used to seeing that money being allocated to certain positions. Offensive line, certainly. Defensive line about to be with what Jalen Carter could be getting here or will be getting. We're not used to seeing corners we're used to seeing get paid. Darius Slay certainly got paid. But Quinyon Mitchell's due, or is going to be due in time, but due. Cooper DeJean's going to be due in time, but due. And all this while right now you're paying a running back more than you've ever paid a running back. And you're paying a linebacker more than you've ever paid a linebacker. So we're used to kind of knowing, and the offensive line is paid. Oh, boy, are they paid and going to continue to get paid. And you got to make a decision on Jordan Davis. The Eagles right now are in a world that we're just not used to seeing them in, where there's money being allocated to two positions that we're not used to seeing it allocated to, and that's linebacker and running back. So when Howie has talked about money, it's the first time I've ever heard Howie Roseman act like the wallet is thin. It's not the fat wallet that we're used to. A lot of that money's already out. And yes, can Howie be creative? Can things be reworked? Absolutely. But I've never heard him talk about the cap the way he's talked about the cap. I've never heard him talk about money as if it was things are a little tight right now. Hey, Dad, can we go out to eat tonight? Things are a little tight. Things are a little tight right now. Yeah. So that's something we got to get used to. Seeing the fact that there's a lot of money tied up right now in your running back and your linebacker are things that we're just not used to. And I know I've gone back to this example a number of times, but it's the best one I can think of. It wasn't that long ago, 2 seasons ago, the Eagles wouldn't pay Miles Sanders, turned out to be rightfully so, but they wouldn't pay Miles Sanders. And instead of paying Miles Sanders, they got 3 or 4 running backs for the price of a Miles Sanders for his first year in Carolina. Now you can call that bargain shopping. You call it smart money. But it was also more or less a standard for the Philadelphia Eagles to not just pay one guy. Now, not only have the Eagles paid Saquon Barkley, but they also brought in another running back in A.J. Dillon, who I think people forget about, that I also think can will run the rock rather well this year. But when Howie talks about the money, that's one thing that always that makes me go, not used to this. So how does that affect the draft? Well, you want to get as many guys that are still very good and young and cheap. And the more draft picks you have, the more likely you are to hit on that guy. So if you're talking about trading back in the draft, then that would obviously give them more ammunition, more chances, more darts, if you will, to be able to hit on somebody. A buckshot rather than a slug, if you will. So that's what they're looking at in the draft. But I find it very interesting that he reiterated so many times about patience not his thing and just picking so late. Picking so late, unfortunately. This is just one thing that I know a lot of people don't acknowledge when it comes to Howie Roseman or really when it comes to the NFL draft. A lot of people look at stats, this person at that person at this. But really, you got to go so much further into the weeds. And if you're Howie Roseman, you go real deep into the weeds.
First thing you have to figure out is what they're being asked to do. I think there are certain college schemes, defensive college schemes that try to maximize their players in other ways. We've had schemes here that are asking our defense players to have different responsibilities. And so we got to first understand what their job description is. We also have to see them in those specific situations. We'll make tapes that are 3rd and 5 plus. What do these guys look like when they're in must-pass situations? The tools in their body. I think that we get a lot of information through this process and watching them do drills, figuring out who has vision for the quarterback. So certainly production's a part of what we're looking for on guys, but there are also extenuating circumstances.
All right. We all want high character guys that are coming in here to Philadelphia. We don't want this guy's coming in with a lot of baggage. This guy might be a bad dude. And, I don't think anyone goes, yeah, I want that guy on my team. No, you want to know that you have a well-rounded, mentally stable prospect coming in here with good moral conduct code and, valor. And you want him coming in here and being a good person. You want him to be an easy person to root for. So Howie, when he was on with, I think it was Todd McShay's podcast a week ago, he said that the gist of it was he doesn't want players that have a background in domestic violence. That's great. That's a beautiful thing. He got asked about it yesterday. Excuse me. And it's a weird thing to walk back from. And when he pointed out, I think it was the second question of the press conference, when he was asked about it, he just said, yeah, I like how you do a podcast and one little segment gets all the notoriety, gets all the focus and all that. And although he said it's basically, yeah, sure, not our goal. And Jalen Carter's name was mentioned, not with domestic violence, but off the field issues. That you don't want those guys in here that have other focuses other than being good at football. And generally speaking, if you're dealing with guys that don't have that kind of moral code, they could be easily distracted or become an easy distraction for the team because they're a bad dude. And if they're a bad dude, that's somebody you can't rely on. So Howie more or less highlighted another part of the quote, which was a case-by-case basis. When you talk about allegations, you talk about being convicted, you talk to witnesses, and you know who else you talk to? You talk to Big Dom, who figures, who figures this stuff out. Like I said, it's a weird thing to walk back from. I kind of felt like Howie did that yesterday. But in fairness, the full quote doesn't get all the legs it should have. Because, again, it comes down to what they know about the guy, what they know about the situation. And when I heard it, I said, that's a beautiful thing. I just don't believe it in its entirety. But he did highlight that yesterday, saying, like, there's more to it than just, a couple, a hearsay, if you will. Bottom line is, Jalen Carter got here just to talk about a guy that had some off-the-field issues. One reporter even said, I don't believe him that he's changed his ways. You look at the first year of Jalen Carter being here, and there were some question marks about whether or not he was going to be taking the NFL seriously, whether or not he's going to be taking his athletic talent seriously, whether or not he was going to be in shape enough to play a full season and play at a high level. Well, he certainly did that last year. And maybe you can credit the attitude of Vic Fangio being here to kind of get the best out of him. Maybe you could credit the attitude of Clint Hurt being able to make sure he takes that next step. But I've seen nothing but a model citizen since he's been here. There was one instance, like literally the worst we could talk about here is a guy oversleeping because his cell phone didn't go off, according to him. But then on the same side of it, you could also talk about, hey, Vic Fangio is calling this guy out for not saying good morning to him. If you're not letting a guy get away with good morning or no good morning, I think you're keeping pretty close tabs on him. So I always think that the Eagles, and this comes from Jeffrey Lurie, I think more so than anybody else, is that Jeffrey Lurie wants to have guys in here that he can look in the eye and say, okay, this person's a good person. He's playing for me. I think that matters to him. And I think that goes hand in hand with the culture that everybody talks about that comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I get the sense from these guys that come in here and talk about culture that they don't get that anywhere else. Whether it's Giants players talking about, oh, we got to, we're coming in here. I heard about the culture here in Philly. People always tell me about the culture here in Philly. Like, it's everyone that comes to Philadelphia. They talk about knowing about this culture in Philly. And it's not just a culture of winning. We have a winning organization. No. It's a culture of a team that actually gives a damn about their players. And that's very important. And I don't think you get that if you bring in people with low moral character. And ultimately, I think that is what Howie Roseman is saying. So all that I just find to be very interesting. And here's how we breaking all that down.
Well, again, it starts with we do have objective criteria that we look at to take players off our board. So it's very easy for us to kind of get into individual arguments or make excuses for guys based on subjective factors. And I think that's really hard to do. So for us, we start with these basic principles of we will not draft because of this. And when we get past those guys, then we obviously have a process that we go through that starts with Dom. I don't think there's any doubt that He's the best in the National Football League, and in my opinion, really all of sports in what he does. His ability to not only gather information, but to have a feel for people. And then we just have to make judgments, in those situations, those are a little bit more subjective, and that's based on all the information that we get. And so that we'll have a bunch of those in this draft, just like there are in every draft. And, we're just trying to do whatever we can to increase the odds that we hit on a player.
I know someone from the Philadelphia Eagles who would always say, whenever they would hear Dom is a security guard, they'd always say, he's not just a security guard. Like, this is well before anything went down with him and it was a Greenlaw of the 49ers. This is well before he, Big Dom became bigger than life Dom, right? Before he became a national celebrity, before Pete Davidson was wearing T-shirts and sweatshirts with Big Dom on it. Well before that, hey, this guy is not just a security guard. This guy does a lot more than that. And now he's got 3 titles. But he's always been the guy behind the scenes. And he's the guy sizing up these people that you're bringing in here to wear your jersey, to represent your team, represent your franchise, represent your city. Can't speak enough about how important this guy is. Because a lot of that culture comes down to him. Listen, literally, Darius Slay's like, oh, yeah, I came back because Big Dom told me to. Like, okay. This was last year, of course. That's pretty important. That's a lot of sway. So this is a busy time a year, obviously, for Howie Roseman, the front office, and that includes Big Dom. Very much looking forward to seeing this. Let me know in the chat. Trade up, trade back, stay put. Here's one thing I will say with certainty. I don't see the Eagles picking at 32. That's, if I can learn anything from listening to what I listened to yesterday, it's that I don't see the Eagles picking at 32. That's a damn near guarantee I can give. 25? Another second round pick? But I don't see them picking at 32. Let's get into yesterday's Phillies game. Like I said, I loved it. Absolutely loved yesterday's game. I love that the Phillies grabbed an early lead. I did not appreciate the idea of them losing the lead. And then I love the idea that they came back. First, let's start in the first inning. Jesus Luzardo on the mound. Just looks like he's got a great command of his sweeper right out of the gate. So that was good. 12-pitch first inning. Nice sliding grab by Kepler in left field. Nice grab by him. Bryson Stott leads off the game with a single. Unfortunately, the Phillies don't get anything out of it. But, again, leads off with a hit. That's good. Going to the second inning there. Just gives us a leadoff single to Chapman. Then he gets out of that inning. No problem for Jesus Luzardo. Bottom of the second inning, JT Realmuto leading off. Remember, in game 1 of this series, he belted a ball that would have been a 3-run home run down the left field line. Would have made it a 1-run game. But unfortunately, it just went foul. And then it got rung up by Tony Randazzo, on a horrible strike 3 call and a 3-2 count. This time, didn't need the umpire, didn't need to hook a ball foul. He went to left center field for a ball that just eked over the wall. By the way, the wins yesterday at Citizens Bank Park, watching anybody on defense try to track a fly ball yesterday was insane. Absolutely bananas. So JT Realmuto hits this ball, and I think it's going to – actually, it was, who it was? It was Trey Turner in the first inning. Hit a ball that I thought was going to be 7 rows up in the left field stands. It hooked around, and Ramos, their left fielder, even circled afterwards. He put his finger like that was just all over the place in the air. And you see him tracking around the outfield trying to catch this Trey Turner fly ball in the first inning. So JT Realmuto hits a long fly ball, deep left field, and that ball, you can see Ramos again just following it. Lee comes over from center field. The ball just looked like it was doing triple Salchows in the ceiling, in the sky. And it just gets over the fence. They had to review it to make sure that it was, and it did. He gets his first home run of the season, gets a 1-0 fastball out over the middle of the plate, and just crushed it. 1-0 Phillies. Later in the game, after a Max Kepler double and an Alec Bohm ground out, where he did swing at the first pitch of the at-bat, that advanced Kepler to third base. Brandon Marsh stepped up. He got an RBI sac fly to center field. You'll have to see that. It's 2-0 Phils. Phillies, unfortunately, got gotten to in the fourth inning. Schmidt came up after a double steal, and then he came up with a 2-run double. So now you're looking at a 2-2 ball game. Phillies, unfortunately, went down 3-2 when Jesus Luzardo was taken out of the game in the 6th inning. He started the inning at 82 pitches. Flores came in, 3-2 count, wild pitch during the at-bat. Runners advanced to second and third, and then he got the ground out to short that allowed a run to score, and then Kerkering struck out Schmidt to end that inning. But 3-2 advantage for the San Francisco Giants. Bottom of the 6th inning, Harper leads off, flying out to left field. Schwarber gets a single to right field. Castellanos gets a single to left field. First and second, one out. JT Realmuto steps up. He ties the game with an RBI single. This is, again, the wind. Ramos in left field, struggling with the wind. Comes in, slides, misses the ball. Kyle Schwarber, credit to him, tracked it perfectly and read it perfectly. Came around to score on that. Tie ball game 3-3. Kepler lines out to short, a little humpback liner. Castellanos gets back to the second base bag so he doesn't get doubled off. Good hustle there by Nick Castellanos on that. Also a heads-up play. I know we could say it was obvious, but is there anything really obvious when the Phillies run the base paths? 3-3 game. Alec Bohm steps to the plate. Runner in scoring position. My, oh my. Coming into this at-bat, I believe he was hitting .085 with his last 18 at-bats with runners in scoring position. It wasn't good. That's all I need to tell you. He steps up, jumps on that first pitch fastball, puts it in the left field, gets the RBI single. Phillies take the 4-3 lead. You love to see it for Alec Bohm. Then, Bryce Harper. I think it was Ruben Amaro Jr. on the broadcast that made the point. 3-0 pitch. Bryce Harper gets a slider down and in. He adjusts on it, keeps the hands in, puts it about 6 rows up in the right field stands for a 2-run home run. Bryson Stott had a triple, by the way, to lead off the inning. I think it was Ruben Amaro Jr. during the broadcast saying, "Oh, this is what you're talking about by putting him in front of you put him in front of Kyle Schwarber, and he's got that protection." This wasn't a 3-1 fastball fatty over the middle of the plate. Like, this was a slider. This isn't a pitch that you hit out of the park. And Harper just made a great adjustment on it. He was not given. It was Birdsong that was in the game for the Giants at this point. This wasn't a pitch that he was just like laying over there for a get-me-over fastball. This was, I'm trying to pitch around the guy. If I got to put him on, I got to put him on. And Harper just tattooed it. Put a great swing on it. The ball felt like it hung in the air for an hour and a half. And whatever, left the ballpark. 3-1 slider. Great. Love to see it. 6-3 Phillies at this point. So now you're feeling pretty damn good. Jose Alvarado comes in. Unfortunately, allows back-to-back singles. Ramos and Adames. Ramos reaches third on the single by Adames down the right field line. So you got first and third. Nobody out. You got Jose Alvarado in a wee bit of a pickle. Lee's at the plate. He gets a 1-2 sinker. When I tell you this 1-2 sinker was not on the outside corner, but on the outer half of the plate, at the knees, just above the knees, actually, that's exactly what it was. Clint Vodrick is the home plate umpire last night. He called it a ball. It was strike 3. Jose Alvarado gets that strike 3. You could talk about a double play ball, and all of a sudden you're out of the inning. But instead, Lee gets a extra life in this video game of life, and he gets an RBI single to right field. So now it's a 2-run ball game. He's still got a runner in scoring position here, and Jose Alvarado finds his way out of that inning. Gets Chapman to pop out to second base. Flores strikes out on the high cutter, got him to chase that, and then Schmidt flies out to deep center field where Brandon Marsh had a good beat on the baseball. That was the last threat that they had. Matt Strahm came in the 9th inning, needed 7 pitches to get through a 1-2-3 9th inning. Bottom line is the Phillies still have not lost 3 games in a row. They capped their losing streak, if you want to call it that, at 2 in a row. Now, you know where we're at? Here's where we're at. We're at the Phillies could win 2 in a row. One more after that is a winning streak. It has happened before. Again, after the game, a bunch of stuff got said that I liked. Number 1 was Alec Bohm, just kind of poking fun at himself. Like to see that for a guy that always seems like he's gripping the bat a little too tight in some situations, at least as of late. And for the record, even though I was all for sitting him down for, 2-3 games, let him clear his head, I always said that he was going to get through it, and I believe this is him getting through it. And I do think he will be that guy that is that 274 to 280 hitter that we have seen in his first, 3 full years as a big league ball player. I should say the last 3 years as a big league ball player, because he certainly played more than that. So that's what I like. Also, Bryce Harper talked after the game about getting through it and having confidence that you'll get through it. Trey Turner echoed a very similar sentiment after the game as well. The thing you have to keep in mind with these guys, you're going to have moments like this. And I got to be honest with you. I really like Alec Bohm. To me, I feel like he gets this kind of pretty boy rap. Like this, I don't know, cooler than cool, long-haired dude, whatever kind of thing. And do I think a lot of it goes back to the, I bleep and hate this place? Yeah, I do. I think it does. But I see a guy that just really wants to perform well. Can that bleed over, as I've been talking about, with a fine line between, a guy that just really wants to do well and a guy that looks lost? Yeah, but apparently this is just Alec Bohm. I find it really odd that a guy that has played so well in Philadelphia and hit so well, especially in clutch situations with runners in scoring position, I find it so odd that the minute this guy shows signs of struggle, people just want him out of here. I think that he is on such a short leash with people. You're going to have bad slumps. You're going to have moments of frustration. Alec Bohm goes through either of these, and most of the time at the same time, and people are like, "Oh, get him out of here. He's pouting. What a little whiny baby." Like, should we really just beat up on a guy that just cares? Because I'm not going to fault Alec Bohm for caring. Bobby Abreu was a damn near Hall of Fame hitter for this team. And he got booed in his return because he was afraid of the wall, apparently. Well, he was. I mean, I watched his whole career. He was afraid of the wall. And allegedly wouldn't bat leadoff. Right? Scott Rowland actually made the Hall of Fame. And this is a guy that was booed big time in Philadelphia. I was always a Scott Rowland guy, but I don't bring them up for really what they do on the field, as opposed to guys that you never really saw emotion from. Other sports, I look at a guy like Donovan McNabb, who won more than anybody with Philadelphia Eagles. And because he always was seen as this kind of laissez-faire attitude, people didn't identify with him. We want to know that you're pissed off, that you're a professional baseball player, you're a professional athlete, and you're not performing well. I feel like that's what really makes us love our athlete. Yeah, hey, look, winning, sure. But we want to know that you're pissed off as we're pissed off. Like, we don't want to see you busting down the first baseline and then, or, lollygagging down the first baseline and then, smiling like, "Oh man, should have had that one." Oh, damn. Like, people talk about Rodney Peete. They talk about him smiling after an interception, and it still drives people crazy. Like, we want to know that you're pissed off. Alec Bohm does it, and it's like, "Oh, this guy's pouting. What a baby." And I'm like, is it just because he's a pretty boy? Or people see him as a pretty boy? Because I see a guy who gives a damn. And I thought that's what we loved in Philadelphia. So, hey, look, the single, the infield single he had. Hey, look, he's now hit 3 in the last 4 games. 3 hits in his last 4 games. He's red hot, baby. No. Little single he had in St. Louis, big deal. Double he had in first game of the series, But getting an RBI single to give the Phillies the lead, that's a lot more like the guy that we have seen in years past with the Phillies. So I'm on Team Bohm, baby. I'm on Team Bohm. Hey, speaking of base running, by the way, on the negative side of things here now, Jesus Luzardo, again, didn't have his best stuff. Wasn't great yesterday, but wasn't terrible. But the one moment that made me throw my hands up in the air and say, what the hell, was Bryce Harper trying to take second base in the 3rd inning. If you still, after one little win, are still in the same place that you were at before this game, I get it. I mean, it is baseball, for crying out loud. There's 162 of these things. But third inning, let me just make sure I don't miss this. And I'm happy they won. Okay, I just gave you a lot of optimism, justified optimism, I might add. The third inning had me banging my head against a wall. Here's the summary of the third inning for the Phillies last night. Phillies, Justin Verlander walked two guys. All right, let's remember this. He walked two guys and still faced the minimum. That's hard to do. And yet the Phillies are like, we got you. So he walks Trey Turner to lead off the inning. He actually had him 0-2 and then lost him at 3-2. Worked the walk. Bryce Harper steps up to the plate. With Harper at the plate, I think it was a 1-2 pitch. Turner takes off for second base. High fastball, great pitch to throw on if you're a catcher, and the throw was right on the money. Bang, bang, play at second base. Trey Turner's out. Harper then walks. So this kind of a little thorn in the side because now you have runners at first and second with nobody out. But instead, now you got a runner on first with one out. Kyle Schwarber steps to the plate, hits a fly ball to not even that deep center field, like not even warning track center field. And with Harper on first base, I'm going, this is even too shallow for Harper to roll the dice on. So he's not going to run. And then I see Lee looking down at first base, and he makes a quick adjustment on the baseball, catches the baseball, and fires to second. And I went, no way. And then I hear T-Mac go, and Harper's going for second. I'm like, he's toast. And then the ball gets to second base, and still barely in the frame is Bryce Harper. And I'm just face palming it going, why? There's aggressive, and then there's dumb. And Bryce Harper, that was dumb. And by the way, I love when Bryce Harper hits the little dribblers into shallow right field, right center field, and center fielders late getting to it, right fielders late getting to it, and Bryce Harper reads it and busts it around first and makes the hustle double there. I love that. That's reading a play. That's being smart. This was just stupid. A fly ball to not even warning track power center field, and you're going to tag up on that, hombre? I don't think so. Phillies back at tonight, 6:45 start time again against the Giants. Again, this is a 4-game series. They got a 4:05 start time tomorrow, I think it is. But you got Aaron Nola still looking for his first win. Tonight it's going to happen. Aaron Nola wins tonight, baby. Won't be easy. Robbie Ray gets the ball for the Giants. That's the way this game is going to play out tonight. I'm going to go with an actual pitcher's duel tonight. I'm going to say 3-2. Phillies win this one. Robbie Ray comes in 3-0, 2.93 ERA. 15 in the third innings of work, 13 strikeouts, 10 walks. Jeez, there, Robbie Ray. Aaron Nola 0-3, 5.51 ERA. Just 5 walks, though. Just 5 walks. There you go. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. And don't forget about Game Time Picks. You know what that does? I'll tell you. Game Time Picks on the Game Time app filters out all the fluff so you get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. What time is it? Game time. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about Brett over at Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Before I go any further, my goodness gracious, Emmitt Smith. Wait, this wasn't. Okay. Emmitt Smith, not a fan of Go Birds. I'm sick of it. We have allowed others to nitpick at the star. Make fun of the star and make fun of the star and what. Oh, and that's what happens. Now, all of a sudden, over the last 20 years, they win 2 Super Bowls, and they think they're the best thing on the planet. Well, that's kind of how it works. And everywhere I go Birds. I'm sick of hearing go Birds. I'm always asking, where are you going? You still got a long way to go to get to us. Well, no, not really. Like one. I'm talking about like recent history here. I'm not talking about, Roger Staubach, for instance. Okay, Scooter. But go figure. Emmitt Smith hates hearing go Birds. What a dumb thing to say for a number of reasons. Number one, Cowboys are like a joke. The Cowboys admitted that they could learn from the Eagles. Like, you're done, man. There's no counter argument to this thing. The Cowboys are like, well, we'd like to be more like the Eagles. So that's just inaccurate. The second is, if any Eagles fan sees you from now on, they are going to make sure you get a go Birds. You're going to get – Emmitt Smith is going to get more go Birds than, 6:30 a.m. at Wawa picking up your coffee. Yeah, go Birds, go Birds. You're going to hear more of that than at Wawa. Okay, friend? Anyway. Now let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this. Fine. It's Wednesday already. Wednesday. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Danny, hello. Wine Irish Wine, what's popping? Go Sixers. Bomer might be coming out of it. He might be coming out of it. I'm Team Bomer. Broken Bell Network, hello. I'm sorry. I'll know Bohm is out of it when he finally fixes his face. There's just something about your face. I don't know what it is. Just I'm going to punch it. I'm going to punch it right now. Is there anything I can do about that? No, I'm just kind of want to punch it. April. Good morning, April. He might not be saying it, but his face is saying, I effing hate this place. Maybe. Sean Kilrain, hello. Good morning. Can you say draft Malachi Stark? I can. And trade for Trey Hendrickson? Woo, baby. That would be an awesome move. Heavily in favor. Sean Kilrain, heavily in favor. Broken Bell, Howie is iffy on picks at times, but he knows how to draft around or trade around on draft week. So I trust him at this point. I was just having this conversation. I think I teased this with you guys yesterday. We're going to tape tomorrow again. Jason Martinez, Harry Mays, myself, Eagles Squad podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to be doing 2 shows a week leading up to the season. And one of the things Jason and I were kicking around yesterday, because we just talked on the phone yesterday and caught up. And by the way, Jason's been very public about his cancer battle with colon cancer. Got to go to his first Flyers game last night since December. Love that for him. Unfortunately, the team was terrible, but he got to go. Love that for him. But that's the lead. But also, Jason and I were just talking about Howie Roseman, and I told him what I've told you guys many times, which is like, this job was a lot more fun when he sucked. When Howie Roseman sucked at his job, this was a lot more fun. Now he's good at it, so I got to trust him. And then it came up in my algorithm yesterday of Mike Zimmer laughing at the Eagles passing on Justin Jefferson, which I do admit. Look, 2 Super Bowl appearances later, it still stings a little. I don't know why, just because it's such a mistake, but whatever. It's worked out. Like Chip Kelly still stings, just the mention of his name, but it's worked out. But yeah, I trust Howie. That's where I'm at right now in all this. And it's not just that I trust Howie, I trust Big Dom, and I trust this team. When you go to 2 Super Bowls in 5 years with a different head coach and quarterback, that's kind of a good thing. When you go to 3 Super Bowls in 8 years or 7 years, I'd say you know what you're doing by now. Go Sixers. Romano is pitching better. I agree. I think it's support from Deborah. Anyway, Farzi, get back to the bar. How you been? Farzi, you got to be honest. The Fightins are not going anywhere. As Philly fans, we just need to praise the Eagles. See, I can't live in that world. You know me. I can't live in the world where I think the Phillies aren't going anywhere. And look, again, being average in the beginning of the year for a baseball team, I like. It's not fun to go through it. But if I can watch the first half of the season and go, there's better baseball in this team. Like, give me a 5-game winning streak. Give me a 7-game winning streak, early in the season. Show me how good you can be. Come back down to earth a little bit and then peak in September. That's what I want. I don't need 37-14 like last year. Wait, I think you gaslight the fans. The Sixers and Flyers have no life, and the Titans have more problems than you tell us, than I tell you? I mean, I'll acknowledge the Phillies' problems. I was the one telling you to sit Bohm, and now he looks like he's actually going to get out of this thing. The gender reveal is bad timing on its face. I agree. Shut up in 2 games of a series. Yeah, I agree. Pre-concussion, Howie. That's something not. That's funny. April, I'm here for gender reveals that are low-key like that. Some of these are the ones. Some of the ones that are happening cost more than a wedding. Yeah, the actual gender reveals. My wife and I never did it for either of our children. Yeah, no, we didn't. I'm trying to think. As a parent, I think I've just blacked out for like the last 5.5 years. I just was like, oh, young kids, what day is it? I will say I thought it was weird that he was doing his own gender reveal. I thought it was awesome when Bryson Stott. Did Bryson Stott have a wristband or gloves? I forget what Bryson Stott did, but Bryson Stott like wore pink, some kind of pink. I think it was a wristband, denote or showing a fan watching that they were going to have a girl. Like, that's cool. I thought that was cool. William Stark, hello. Sean Kilrain. Well, Emmett can pop in a VHS tape. There you go. I love it. Broken Bell Network. Hey, Mark. Hot take. Bryce sucks at base running and always has, unless it's a bang baseball play. Yeah, he's not great. But here's what drives me crazy about it. He's got he generally speaking has a good feel for it. Like, I don't get too far into, you got to run your ass off every ball, every time. Like, I get that could be a little mind numbing. But it's not, it's the easiest thing to do. I don't get as pissed off as other people when they don't do it. However, if it's a play that can be bang at first base, I'd still like to see Harper bust that out. And it happens more often than I'd like. It's the one aspect of Bryce Harper's game that just drives me banana sandwich. Philly Magic 365. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Philly's team has a consistency of hot peanut butter, and it's frustrating. All right. And that's why it seems like the Eagles fans are happy with it. Well, they're happy with another title, sure, but dynasties like the Pats and the Chiefs win every year. Well, I guess it's time for the Eagles to start their own dynasty. Oh, Rincones. 3 for 5 last night. Uncle Rico to some. 3 for 5 last night. Couple RBIs. 293 batting average. Food for thought for Topper. There you go, Sean Kilrain. I like that. Also, what's his name? Our boy Justin Crawford. I checked his numbers last night. Down to 293. Come on. He was at 250, or excuse me, 355 a minute ago. I didn't see what he did last night, though. Look at that lit up. Ken Sod, how you been, man? Just protecting the investment. It's Mr. Carter. Okay. Wind at Citizens Bank was wild. It certainly looked like it. April, absolutely. That JT Realmuto home run, a lot more impressive in that wind. Absolutely. William Stark, hello. If there's a player they want, the Eagles will trade up. I agree. Mark Pearson, what's going on? Don't trade for a big contract guy. We need more rookie contracts. Could see it. Holy pop. Bohm got a hit. Vulnerable vitality. Hello. Vitality. Do the Phillies have a Bohm problem? Okay. No, I don't think so. We know Farzi donated to Democrats, so yeah, he's out of touch. What? I think Mark just doesn't understand winning baseball. I have no idea what I would have said to give you that impression. You don't make the third out of the inning with Kyle Schwarber up. Yeah, I'd prefer them not do that. The Harper situation, though, that was on Schwarber's fly ball, if that's what we're talking about. Gorby. Farzi, missed your big bald. Is that supposed to be? Opinions recently. I'm back. Can't wait for Howie pisses this off on draft night and sells his pick night wasted. Okay, fair enough. Oh, you mean waiting for the third, 32nd overall pick? They go, oh, Sir Sketchable, how'd I miss you? As someone who's had similar emotional struggles with themselves, while trying hard in sports, it's not a good mindset and really holds you back in big moments. So I understand, but it's not what you like to see in big leaguers. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Michael Kors is a Greg? Is that what that's, or sorry, Matt Kors is a Greg? Is that what that's supposed to be? All right, either way. And for the record, I don't donate to any political party, just for the record. Anyway, thanks everyone in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Phillies back at it tonight. 6:45, Nola versus Ray. I will see you guys on the Locked On Phillies postcast after the game tonight. Stay tuned. Birds 365 coming up at 8 o'clock today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your day.